Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this second cycle of Colombia Round 2021. Well, first of all, I apologize because maybe we didn't announce the cancellation of the workshop last week. I'm sorry. I mean, but we had that week the launch of the round, and that was the reason to postpone this talk for this week, exactly for today. Well, just for the people that join us first time, I mean, just we would like to maybe recall what we have done during the last weeks. I mean, we covered the Caribbean basins. Also, we covered the Sinú San Jacinto, the Urabá, the Chocó basin, the Lower Mac, the Middle Mac, the Upper Mac, the Llanos Basin, and we cover also the Pacific offshore. Well, just to remind you that you can access any of those presentations. I mean, those are located in our website. You can also find the recording of those presentations there, with the exception of the couple of ones in the Caribbean basins. So feel free to access that information anytime. So now today is a pleasure for us to start the second cycle of these workshops. As you know, the round is going to take place the second week of November during the Petroleum Summit in Colombia. And we plan to have these weekly workshops, technical workshops, until then. So this second cycle will cover 8 talks that I'm going to mention to you right now. I mean, so today we have the pleasure to have DIMAR with us. We will have next week the Cauca-Patia Basin on June 25th. We will have Enrique Cuervo giving us that talk. We will have Caguán and the Eastern Cordillera on July 2nd. We will have the UPTC University as well. I'm sorry, Enrique is also part of the UPTC University. So the Caguán Eastern Cordillera is going to be given by Dr. Curvalle and his group, that all of them belong to the UPTC University. We will continue with the Catatumbo Basin on July 9th, and we will have Ivan Olaya, Dr. Ivan Olaya, and also we will have the participation of the ANH interpreters. We will have Daniel Rodriguez that day, July 9th, telling you the opportunities, the exploration opportunities in the Catatumbo Basin. Next week, on July 16th, we will have Guajira onshore and Guajira offshore. And we have the pleasure to have Dr. Juan Carlos Ramon with us. He will going to represent the Pamplona University. It is a very interesting talk. And on July 23rd, we will have Putumayo. We will have two talks that day. We will have also Ivan Olaya, Dr. Ivan Olaya, and also we will have our ANH interpreter, Arles Gutierrez. I recommend that talk. I mean, very interesting opportunity in the Putumayo Basin. I'm going to be giving that day. And on July 30th, we will have the Cesar Rancheria, and the talk is going to be organized and given by the ANH. And we will have our interpreter, Arles Gutierrez, with us that day. And we will close this second cycle on August 6th with the talk, Conventional and Unconventional Resources Yet to Find, given by Cesar Mora. And just to remind you that all this work is supported by universities and associations, National University, UPTC, Pamplona University, Universidad de Caldas, and we have all these associations, the Asociación Colombiana de Geofísicos del Petróleo, the APG, the SEC, ACIPET, ACP, and the EAG. Well, we have so far, as you have been, discussing during the last weeks. I mean, we have 28 areas to be offered to the industry. But the good news is that we already have 4 more that have been already incorporated or nominated by the industry. And they are, I mean, 1 in the lower MAC, 2 in the middle MAC, and 1 in the Llanos basin. So I invite all of you to incorporate, to nominate areas in open acreage. That is one of the purpose of these talks, not only to promote the 28 areas offered by the agency, it's also the purpose of these talks is to illustrate to you all the basins, frontiers, emergent, mature basins, but to encourage you to promote in the core of your companies to promote areas and to incorporate them for the bid round. For all of you that want, if you want to have information on all those areas incorporated, please go and consult our website, and you will find there the GeoVisor, and there you will have the maps and the seismic line, the wells that are present on all those incorporated areas, and you will be able to buy that data in the geological survey. Okay. Just to remind you that next week we will have a very interesting talk given by Dr. Enrique Cuervo. It's called the evaluation of the Cauca-Batia petroleum system. So we wait for all of you that day. When we have now the pleasure to have the DIMAR group with us, giving today this talk. And don't forget that you can address your questions through the chat. And the 2 officers that are with us today, they will answer those questions as soon as they finish the talks. And let me introduce them. I mean, the first one is Luis Carlos Olarte Garcia. He's a PT officer, first class, hydrographer and topographer from the Naval School of Barranquilla, with 21 years of experience as a researcher and manager of marine scientific research projects. He has participated in nautical cartography update programs, acquisition of scientific research vessels, and he's developed scientific projects associated with new capabilities and products for offshore exploration. He currently works as a technical advisor for special projects at the General Maritime Directorate. That is the background of Luis Carlos Olarte Garcia. And we have also the pleasure to have with us Nelson Ivan Benito Barrera, hydrographer with 30 years of experience in hydrographic surveys, management of hydrographic sensors and equipment, and processing. He's an expert in business. He's also worked as a business administrator for the University of Cartagena. I'm sorry, that is his profession, business administrator from the University of Cartagena. He is a technologist in hydrography, technician in hydrometeorological instruments. He's an expert in software management, such as HYPACK, CARIS, 6, ARGIS, GeoPack. He has served as a hydrographic reviewer. He has also been project advisor for the National Hydrographic Service and technical leader for the ANH DIMAR contract. Okay, so it's a pleasure for us to have the DIMAR group with us, and we are going to learn a lot about the Caribbean and the Pacific areas. You know that the agency has made a lot of efforts there since 2007 until now, and you will find out what the agency has acquired for the country through the DIMAR group. So welcome and enjoy the talk.
Señor Luis, no lo estamos escuchando.
Ahí me escuchas, Luis?
Sí, ya lo escuchamos.
Okay, sorry for the dismay about this. I will share my screen to start. Thank you very much, Miguel, for the introduction, and I will try to share my screen right now. Please let me know when you are available to see it. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, good morning for all the audience and for everyone who is connected through the digital platforms online. As just Miguel said, I'm the Colombian Navy Petty Officer, First Class Luis Carlos Olarte Garcia. I've been serving the General Maritime Directorate for the last 21 years. And before, of course, beginning these presentations, it's an honor for DIMAR to participate in this technical workshop. And we are very pleased to support this 2021 round against ANH. But before beginning these presentations, please receive cordial greetings from our General Maritime Director, our Vice Admiral Jose Joaquin Amezquita Garcia. He hopes that all your families and friends keep doing well in these times of difficult situations, and that is, of course, occurring in our planet. Okay, going forward with our presentation today, we'll try to let you know how the Colombian National Hydrocarbon Agency supports the offshore exploration programs through our General Maritime Authority. We would like to let you know and start talking about what it's DIMAR. And DIMAR, it's the Colombian Maritime Authority in charge of executing the government's policy in this matter, with a structure that contributes to the strengthening of the national maritime power, ensuring the integral maritime safety, the protection of human life at the sea, the promotion of maritime activities, and scientific and technological development of the nation. What is DIMAR jurisdiction and where is our country located? Well, Colombia is in South America, the north part of South America. And exactly we are located at the north, as I said, at the north of South America. This is our country. Our country has connections with Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. And we have 55% of land territory, and our sea territory is composed by that 28.4% of sea territory at the Caribbean coast, and we have 16.4% of sea territory at the Pacific coast. And our limits around our country, we have borders and limits with 11 countries, from the east with Venezuela, Brazil, or to the south with Peru, Ecuador, and to the west with Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Jamaica, Haiti, and Dominican Republic. To make a good work against all these limits, we got around special offices distributed around all these limits. Some of them are land limits or borders, and there we have special offices to make our work against science and research on both coasts. At the Caribbean coast, we got our Hydrographic and Oceanographic Research Center for the Caribbean. This is located in Cartagena, and it's specialized, of course, in covering all these scientific activities and promote everything around that. In the research center at the Caribbean, we got also the hydrographic surveys, there we produce all the official nautical charts and everything related to that. In our Pacific coast, we got another research center for the Pacific. Is the Hydrographic and Oceanographic Research Center of the Pacific. And just likewise, the other research center, this research center covers all activities related to science, but for our Pacific coasts. Against to these both research centers, our central office is located in Bogota, and we control all activities for all these offices and research centers from this office. Also, to complement all these activities, we got a fleet of research vessels, just these ones that you can see in the slide. The first one is the ARC Providencia. The second one is the ARC Malpelo. The third one is the ARC Roncador. And the fourth one is the ARC Caribe. These, the ARC Providence and Malpelo, sorry for, I'm using the words in English, but the ERC Providencia and the ERC Malpelo are an old vessels. They were built in Germany in 1981, but they keep producing science information for DIMAR, and they were really important in history because they made all the part of the history to become on these new vessels like the ERC Roncador and the ERC Caribe. Also, to complete this research fleet, we have small vessels like this one, pilot boats with equipment and research equipment. All this fleet has oceanographic equipment, and our crew is trained to make only research activities. On 2022, we'll have available for our country this new vessel that is right now it's being built for our national shipyard, Codegmar. It's a shipyard of Colombian Navy, and it's going to be available probably in 2022. It's a research vessel with a hull of equipment, new equipment, just to keep supporting all activities against research in our country. Well, right now we would like to share with you and as a summary to talk about what has been this strategic alliance for development between DIMAR and the ANH in Colombia. This strategic alliance has been based on these four baselines. The first one is against national resources. We understand that to promote development of national capacities, we must include those national resources. The second one is against research. Through the knowledge and appropriation of the territory, we can do and support other government organizations. And the third line, it's promoting the offshore industry. Also, we really know that having more information available and certainty in data, it's really important to promote this offshore industry and all related to activities against ANH. And the last one, it's against security and safety at the sea, because of course all this information collected that you will see in these presentations. It's really important to the decision process, and of course, it's really helpful for prevent hazards, contribute to research, and rescue activities. Well, now I will present or give the word to Nelson Benito, our other guy in charge of presenting today. And we will meet again in a few minutes to talk about something else. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. You can see my screen.
Yes,
Yes,
Nelson,
yes.
right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and privilege for me to be with you today. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about what is multibeam bathymetry, Mascara Theory, and how DIMAR recovered some bottom data using SVP system. After this, I will make a summary about A-nates and the DIMAR contracts, and an A-while share when do the actual short-term projects between both institutions. Okay.
Go ahead, Nelson.
Okay, let's start. The multibeam theory, these images correspond precisely to multibeam survey made by Cartagena, by DIMAR. The image of the left corresponds to the shipwreck located in the Bay of Cartagena in front of the Naval Officers Club. We call the shipwreck is pickup, Pavo Real in Spanish. As you can appreciate in the image, it is all in the old. This was caused by collision by other ship at this point of bay, and it was the cause of sinking. On the right, a digital terrain model, terrain Cain Island, located in the Colombian insular Caribbean zone. The multibeam systems are basically acoustic equipment. The sound in the water spreads in a spherical way. This video shows and explains how the sound propagates an elastic material such as water. As you see, the propagation is spherical. The spin, the cruising pressure will traverse through the water depends on temperature, salinity, and pressure. Science has been able to determine that a sound speed of water equatorial water plus high salinity 35 parts per second in 1,550 meters per second. Per outside in cold water is 1,405 meters per second. Analyzing this, we can conclude that in 1 second, the difference in distance between the high and low well-off on the speed of sound can be 72.5 meters. How do the multibeam system generate the sound pulse on the water? The theory is follows. The electrical energy is converted into acoustic energy by means of the transduced vibration and certain frequency. While the acoustic wave travels to the column water, undergoes a reflection phenomenon after being reflected in the ocean floor. in return to the transducer, changing into electrical power again. What multi-beam system really measures is time. The system registers out loud take the sound pulse to travel through the column water in return to the transducer. And just simple in this formula, depth equal and sound speed multiplied by time and divided by 2. The measure depth in water being this vessel in constantly motion is very complicated. In order to activate this, the echosonder manufacturers integrate to the system special equipment to take the correct the tip movements like yaw, roll, and pitch. Here we have the technology used by Kongsberg echosonder. These echosonders correct the pitch, roll, and heave movements in real time, achieving an effective sweep. Some echosonders stabilize a smooth yaw by using transmitted sectors. This system encodes the frequency in each sector, achieving better results. Okay, here again we appreciate a multi-beam image of the wreck power real in grayscale. And this photographer when the chip was active. On the right in the image of the CSN or SIS survey software interface. In the lower image, you can appreciate that multi-beam system is capable to detect gas bubbles from seabed. The products generated for multi-beam survey are devices. We can generate and surface in CISAR format, which is basically a digital terrain model. After this, the identification of other water geoforms can be made easier, helping interpreters to understand the real from the ocean and geology. Also, we can generate an XYZ format. This type of files can be loaded into any geographic information system for any post-analysis. Using this information, we generate technical reports related to characterization of submarine bottom, for example. Okay, we generate graphic products like GeoTIFF generate from the 3D surfaces. The data merged with the depth isobats allow geoscientists to interpret, evaluate different geoforms from the bottom with a special detail depending on the resolutions. Okay, in this slide we can see 4 maps. At the scale of 1 to 500,000. These are the samples of the actual high-resolution bathymetric products and the Caribbean zone, obtained for multiple surveys carried out by DIMAR, using to own capability working in alliance with the AMH. Okay, well now let's talk about the Mascara Theory. It defines a Mascara the energy returner for an acoustic pulse that has been transmitted through the water column and to a certain distance on a certain angle and a specific area of the seabed. The Mascara depends on the reflection coefficient due to the difference in impedance acoustic acoustics between water in the seabed materials, the volume of rebuff expressed in terms on their left and weight, the roughness of the bottom surface. Dr. Luciano Fonseca and his experts team had to do with the beginning of the Mascara as a byproduct of multi-beam bathymetry, create an algorithm called Geocoder in 2005. Really, how many processing software have their algorithm to process Mascara information? This theoretical intensity level from each class of sediments at the different frequencies can be confirmed with a subsequent exercise in situ by sampling the seabed. With this, the acoustic signature of multi-beam system can be determined with a specific frequency in a specific area. Okay, in this upper part, the graphic shows the behavior of different sediments like silt, sand, sandy gravel, rock, for example, in the relationship on the angle of incidence versus the intensity values. In the lower graph, show the same relationship with the behavior of different frequencies. Use the acquisitions of the Mascara informations 30 kHz, 100 kHz, 200 kHz, 400 kHz. As a result, Mascara analysis report and delivered accompanied by graph outputs showing the Mascara mosaic in grayscale, which indicate the different intensity and hardness degree values found on the seabed. Okay, now we change the subject and we'll talk about something else. I am going to talk to you about another capability that we have in our hydrographic platforms. It is specialized geophysical equipment. The name is sub-bottom profiler or SBP. This main application of SBP is obtain images from the sediment layers and buried objects. This system uses low frequencies. The frequencies is between 345 kilohertz and 6.5 kilohertz that are capable and to travel through the water column and penetrate the freeze seabed layer around the 100 meters around or average, depending on seabed hardness. On the right of this slide, we can see the architecture of the converse SBP, operating station, before former units, computer, and transceiver units. We can appreciate that it shares the same receiver with the IMI multi-beam system 302. Okay, as product we will report with a straight head, a sedimentary identification obtained from seabed, and a digital file we generate and segue station with the process information. Okay, in this part of the presentation, I'm going to tell you the summary of the different contract signs between the AH and DIMAR II the last years. Okay, the freeze agreement number 080 was signed in 2007. At that time, DIMAR acquired for ANH a little bit more than 8,500 square kilometers on multi-beam data. The area was located in the south of the Pacific, coast and limiting from the Ecuador sea territory line. And this time, our vessel, we equipped with an Atlas hydrosweep ecosonder system, and we were not able to generate base cable products because this system of the hydrosweep system didn't have this kind of technology. As final products, bathymetric surfaces were generated in CISA formats, Hydrographic, SYC files, and graphic outputs with the respective geotiff. In 2014, ANH and DIMAR signed the first contract number 169. The compromise was to cover 92,000 square kilometers, obtain multi-beam bathymetry information, and produce the survey was carried out on the Colombian Caribbean in the coasts on the Caribbean Basin. A final product, DIMAR built multiple surfaces in the CISAR format, XYZ data, and the spatial maps with the respective geotiff. In the 2018 contract, 2018 contract number 245 was signed. This has been the largest contract with bigger areas to survey. In that year, 160,500 square kilometers we covered. The information was collected in the Northwest Colombian Basin around our islands near the Colombian insular zone. Okay, in 2019, contract number 407 was developed. DIMAR covered a little more than 16,500 square kilometers with multi-beam bathymetry and Mascara information were collected. We covered shallow and intermediate water. In addition, SBP data we acquired. In 2019, contract number 69-2 was signed, and the bathymetry survey was carried out on the North of Caribbean Pacific on the border with the Republic of Panama, and the 12,000 square kilometers with high-resolution bathymetry collected. In addition, there was a component for Mascara and SBP data. Last year, in 2020, even with COVID situations, contract number 437 was signed. The intention was to get high-resolution bathymetric data covering various polygons on the Caribbean coast, distributed on the Sinu offshore, Guajira offshore, and Colombian Basin. In addition, 400 optical line miles with the SBP data were acquired from the Guajira Basin. Also, this survey included 35,151 square kilometers on the Pacific coast with the multi-beam bathymetry and Mascara. In addition, 1,000 SBP linear nautical miles were collected. Okay, this summarizes the work activity carried out for both institutions, including the free ship hunting program in history made for Colombia using our capability. But you will have the opportunity to create this program after finishing my presentation. In these 14 years on strategic relationship, and there were more than 351,000 kilometers of multi-beam data have been acquired with high investment of more than 100 billion pesos. Okay, as a future project is planning to acquire for this year 12,000 square kilometers located on the polygons on the land maps on ANH, Col 7 on the Guajira Offshore 3. With this project, we will complete with high resolution bathymetry on 100% of the areas of interest on the ANH on the Colombian Caribbean Sea. Okay, thank you very much for the attention. And I attend to do any question in the chat. Thank you.
So we are going back to Luis, okay?
Yeah, right.
Yes,
Thank
Luis,
you,
continue.
Miguel. I will share my screen again. Okay, continuing with our presentation. Now I want to share with you what has been and how Colombia, through the General Maritime Directorate, develops the first deep water complete environmental ship hunting program in history with its own crew and research vessels. As part of the history, here in Colombia, sorry for the sound, I will stop these to talk freely. As part of the history against ship hunting in Colombia, of course, big companies out of Colombia has been several programs in Colombia. And as government, DIMAR made in 2009 a program with Ecopetrol and other companies, but and this is part of the history. But at that time, DIMAR only used the ARC Providencia to put on board some expert with his own equipment and made these operations. I wanted to share this with you because this is really important. And now this program that you will see after this is the first historical program on ship hunting developed for government through the ANH, using his own vessels, his own crews, and his own equipment. For running this program on 2019 and 2018, sorry, we checked the requirement on which, for trying to understand which were the challenges. We study some international entities against all these operation. After that, we checked, we learned and studied which were the better practices, learning, studying, and consulting the international repositories with technical and science information. And for trying to have a good service for our country and for ANH, we checked around the world some companies who made these surveys, like these companies that you can see in the slide. And finally, in 2019, we built this program, complete ship hunting program, and it was composed for these 4 components. The first one against DIMAR was to recover cores at 4,000 meters depth as a first time to go to ultra deep waters was a big challenge, and was not easy, but that was the first component. The second component was to run up against all those samples on course the geochemical analysis. For running this geochemical analysis, we count with Fugro company, an expert on industry, and the University of Houston to run up all these geochemical analysis. The basics analyses were made on board, and we could have, supported by Fugro, the results on real time after getting the samples on 24 hours being on board. We were available to have the preliminary results of the geochemical analysis. This is very important because with this methodology, you can establish a new capability on board and redistribute the course that you need to check if you need to, if you want to get better results on being offshore. You can use those preliminary results on real time to make that and facilitate the operation. Also, the high resolution results were in charge of Fugro, but by the hand of the Houston University. And in that parameters were evaluated the diamondoids, biomarkers, and isotopes. The third component was against heat flow, and the challenge was to perform heat flow measurements to determine the thermal gradient of the sediment at 4,000 meters depth. It was again in charge of Fugro, DIMAR, and right on cue. The fourth component of this program was modeling the petroleum systems, and another component, this modeling was in charge of Schlumberger and DIMAR, and these parameters against sediments. We ran a specific component for using big part of the sample or all the samples to run up a program for checking parameters against sedimentology, biostratigraphy, and petrography. These components were in charge of Caldas University. And all this program, the intention was to advance in the knowledge and evaluation of the hydrocarbon potential through the acquisition of new data to increase geological knowledge and encourage investment of national and foreign risks in its research. The exploration area, as I said before, we are located in South America, but this exploration area was located at the Caribbean Sea, exactly at the north on Colombian Basin, as you can see. Here, this is the Colombian Basin, this is the Guajira Basin and Sinú Basin. And exactly this polygon was located right here on the top of the Beata Ridge. ANH wanted to check around the Beata Ridge, or if there was a good potential, and we worked with him and with them against these. And exactly the area was located, we cover 43,000 square kilometers with depths between 1,300 meters and 4,300 meters. As you can see, we were on ultra deep waters. We covered 45 coring targets all around the area, and we made 16 heat flow. We covered 16 heat flow stations and take 32 measurements in the program. We cover around 1,050 miles of navigation, and we operate around 25 and the 30 days. To run up this program and operations, we made our the operation on board of the ARC Roncador, our research vessel, because it has some special capabilities like the dynamic positioning system, the USBL positioning system, and some equipment on board that was good to operate to make all these maneuvers that you will see next. The challenge, this is an animation about how is the operation for coring and the heat flow. First, the vessel goes and make positioning on a straight position of the targets, and using the USBL system, we track our gear that will take the sample that we will process and make the geochemical analysis. And we need to register the exactly position, and that's why this equipment give us the exactly the position of from where we are taking the sample. After we recover the samples on board, then we make all the basics geochemical analysis. And for coring operations, it's some quite similar operation. We use the same positioning system for tracking the gear, and for heat flow, we drop a different gear that you will see in detail after in another slide. But the operation, it's quite similar to coring, but this time this gear make measurements of temperature of sediment on the seabed of the area. After recovering the gear, we download those measurements and analyze those measurements with experts. Okay, for running the program, as I mentioned before, DIMAR made an investment and get his own gear equipment for coring and heat flow, but by the hand of experts like Fugro, we install all these gear and system on board, and we train our people and make some tests for being available on running a program for 24 hours on day light, as you can see, and even operating at night. Of course, we understand that the industry, this is the way that industry moves against this kind of program, and that's what we try to make on this. But now we're available for running this kind of program. I can, following, of course, the health and security methodologies and recommendations. By the hand of experts, we train our people, and we were successful because we didn't have any accident with the people on board. As you can see, most of our crew, deck crew and people on board are composed for young people and young guys, supported by experts from company like Fugro. Here, I want to share you a video on how we operate finally being in the exploration area. This is the way we take out our gear, following and trying to be as much safely as we can. At this time, this is where the core gets out of the seabed, and then we take out the core. It's for me, it's an honor to share this with you and to talk as Colombia and share with you how now we can say that we can make these kind of operations. Every sample and every core we recover, we follow up and register all these information. These we register the coordinates of taking the with geographical coordinates. There are some characterization that experts make on board, like odor, gas cut, fracture, gas hydrates, all staining, sip fauna, and every core was really good register. Every sample was registered with photographs, and every coordinate was registered on maps following the methodology advised by experts. We follow 1 kilometer of multi-beam bathymetry before dropping our system after interpreting the seismic information, and we run up an SVP 1 kilometer just to check the roughness of the seabed and not to break the gear. And after that, we register the exactly point where the gear takes the sample. All this process and interpretation was made by experts on board in conjunction and as a partner of our crew. Against the heat flow, our system was tested as at the same time likewise current. We made a preview preparation in Cartagena, the naval base. The gear that we used for this was a gear composed by 11 thermostats with high resolution, with high quality measured temperature. The way it works is these thermostats, when the gear introduces the seabed, all these thermostats register the temperature, and we get two measurements. One is conductivity and the other one is temperature. And that way, using those two measurements, we get a gradient. Now I will let you know, I will share with you a video on how we drop the heat flow gear on board. We designed all these systems on board for dropping safely the gear. Can you hear me?
Yes, Luis, we
Yes,
hear you.
yes.
Okay, sorry. Well, now, after this is the way we drop the heat flow. And quite difficult, of course, considering this was the first time that we've made this operation. So we were really careful on safety and security. This is a very high quality system, and it's pretty easy to break the proof that is the one who registered the measurements. But we were successful, and we didn't break any of the probes, or we didn't have any accident. The most difficult part of of the operation is to recover the gear. Here is a video of how is the recovery in the heat flow gear. This is the way how we follow and try to not to broke the gear and recovering safely. Part of this methodology, of course, has been developed for experts and some companies in industry, but we try to build our own methodology and try to follow up these operations to make it safely for everyone and not to be injured. Then after being secured the gear, we back up the gear and after finishing this, the experts download the measurements to a Wi-Fi system and okay. Against the launch and recovery, and we can tell you, as I mentioned before, we covered 16 stations around the whole area. The intention following the advice of experts was to cover and have a general look of the measurements. And that's why on each station, we made 2 measurements and the quality of the measurements was really good. The 94% of the measure of the penetration was very good, and the rank of measurements were perfect. And as you can see in the slides, every measurement was like the current operations were registered exactly and tracked until the time when the gear touched the water, until the gear touches the seabed and penetrates, taking and making the measurements. This is imaging. You can see how the heat flow gear register all measurements. The heat flow system works presenting the register one measurement when it penetrates the seabed against friction. All thermostats register that temperature for measurement, and after a couple minutes, the gear automatically puts a control heat flow pulse, and for a couple minutes after, when it secures, all those thermostats starts registering again the measurements on temperature going lower. With the with these 2 measurements, one is conductivity and the other one is temperature, we get a great thermal gradient that's really important for science and hydrocarbon systems, because with this information, industry and science can know and understand if are good conditions on temperature to produce the hydrocarbon. Against the geochemical analysis, as I mentioned on the components, the scans of the geochemicals, the basic analysis were in charge on board on real-time on Fugro, and the parameters was light gas analysis from C1 to C5, which has space sampling system. Second was analysis of occluded gases, analysis of aromatic hydrocarbons by total fluorescence scanning, and analysis of saturated aliphatic hydrocarbons, and it includes a quantification of the of those hydrocarbons. As specialized analyses were run on Houston University in charge of FUGRA, but the parameters run in Houston were biomarker analysis, isotope analysis, and diamondoids analysis. The methodology against geochemical analysis, after taking the core or putting the deck on deck the core, we take off the cord cutter, then the cord catcher, and we lay the sample in a clean system, and from all the cord, only the first 5 centimeters were designated for running these geochemical components, the basics and the specialized analysis. The other, all the samples were marked and rod-related, and the other rest of the sample was designated for sedimentology and archive. All the samples were marked with this scheme following industry requirements and following the advice of experts. And the marks, as you can see, gives information against the company, the country, the expert company analyzing, the station, and the number of the cord. Those 55 centimeters of the sample were distributed on bags and cans to run up the geochemical analysis. As you can see, the can A and B were designated for running the shore-based laboratory analysis. The bag A and B were used for shore and laboratory analysis, and the bag C was used for run up the geochemical analysis on board. These are some pictures from the containers from FUGRA that were installed on board, and the methodology against registering any sample, following the best practices for not contaminating the samples, and distributing and handling all these cores. This is the way they handle the samples and how every sample was registered with pictures and high quality methodologies. These are a few pictures from the geochemical lab with specialized equipment for getting high quality results. This is a part of the results obtained after all these measurements. This is the maps against that we give to science, and of course to ANH, that now are available for companies, for scientists and Colombian citizens. This is the map against total scanning fluorescence. This is a map against organic matter analysis. This is against organic, total organic carbon. The heat flow stations, as you see before, the measurements, and the very precisely high quality measurements. Also, Schlumberger made some 3D modeling information for the program. These are some of the products that they built, and this is on 3D modeling. they use information available from ANH. This is part of the products. The petroleum system and thermal modernity. This is the location of the 1D model, one-dimension model. And again, the thermal modernity modeling. Against the other component of sedimentology, biostratigraphy, and petrography, we run up a program for trying to use as much of the sample with the Caldas University guys from the institute handle the samples, as you can see in the slides, made out great work on trying to use as much as they can with the samples. And as part of these results, I want to share a very good, interesting pictures against forums that were on those samples, very well preserved and very important information for science and industry. Some calcareous nanofossils that they recovered and registered, as you can see in the pictures. Some ostracods, and dinoflagellates also with very precisely. Against petrography, even the Caldas University ran some information related to petrography, and all this information it's available for ANH on a information repository, and it's available for everyone. Coming on July 2021, this year, we'll keep exploring the Colombian Basin, but this time we will run up a program to the west of the Colombian Basin with a program for covering 100 current sites and 50 heat flow sites. And our intention is to make the same program, advice from same experts, and keep supporting the ANH on exploring this wonderful area of the Colombian Basin. Also, by the hand of ANH and experts, we have realized that there are abandoned wells on the Caribbean coast. ANH is in charge of 90 abandoned wells. They are situated no more than the 2,000 meters isobat line, and we will run a pilot program. Most of those abandoned wells are located on Guajira Basin and Sinú Basin, and even on Urabá Basin. But for this pilot program, we have previously selected 5 abandoned wells. Most of these abandoned wells are really old, and we have understand that probably some of these abandoned wells can be having sieves on. There's a good option that no one has known what is happening now on these abandoned wells, and by the hand of ANH, we will run a pilot program with experts, and the intention is to check the environmental conditions around these abandoned wells. These 5 wells are the Tayrona, that is dated on 1979, Calamar on 1982, Meru from 1983, Merluza from 1989, and the Anguilla from 1989. The methodology for running up these environmental evaluation, we will have this year available a drop camera. It's a mechanical system that will take high quality images from the seabed. The methodology is to get two high quality images. One is to have a plan view images from the bottom of the area. It's a square image from 1 or 2 square meters. And after that, to get sediment profile images to the floor and make a characterization and evaluation of the actual condition around the abandoned wells. The plan is to take around 12 pictures on buffers of 200 meters, 300 meters, 500 meters, and 700 meters around the wells, and check the actual conditions. Every picture and every drop of the equipment will be tracked as USBL and positioning, and to register the exactly position of each picture. And we want to complement these pictures with water samples, and we are discussing with ANH about which of these type of analysis we will get from the water. And also we want to complement the analysis taken superficial sediment samples with small equipments. And just as the water, we are discussing, because this is a pilot program, to try to check with which parameters we will get analyzing these sediments. And we think that on 2022, we will cover all the 90 targets on this program. As a big conclusion of this program, I feel really happy, and I was honored for Navy and DIMAR to participate in this program as project manager. And this is a big conclusion of this program. The Union of State Organizations, supported by experts, can generate benefits for a government, facilitating decision process, securing economical investment for citizens and multiple industries. Through this model, countries can produce invaluable and high quality information for science and contribute to the understanding of their territory and its resources. For DIMAR, was an honor to help our country by the hand of ANH and experts in industry. And I want to conclude and give thanks to everyone and sponsors for having this chance with this image and this message. Colombia, it's a sea of opportunities. And thank you very much for the audience for this space. And I think that we have enough time to try to solve any questions that we have available on the chat. Thank you.
Okay, from the ANH, I would like to thank Luis and Nelson for these excellent presentations. I know that the questions that had been asked in the chat had been already answered by Nelson. However, in Spanish, I would like to invite him to tell us, because not all people that are in the conference, they could read, or even if they join us later, they know about the chat. So I like to ask to Nelson or Luis that la mayoría de las preguntas estaban relacionadas con respecto a dónde poder encontrar la información, donde quedan, por ejemplo, el registro de los núcleos, el piston core o los datos del heat flow, que ya sé que Nelson pues lo respondió en el chat. Sin embargo, me gustaría invitarlo a él para que de pronto toda la audiencia que está en este momento pudiera saber dónde ellos pueden acceder a la información, que principalmente, entiendo, está en el Banco de Información Petrolera.
Okay, Daniel, thank you very much for your question. And according with that, of course, as you mentioned, and how like Nelson just write in the chat. All this information, it's available on the EPIs, following all requirements of ANH, and all information is available for science, and I will say it in Spanish to facilitate the answer. Toda esta información está disponible para la industria y la ciencia por primera vez en español. Anteriormente, todos estos programas corridos por la industria para algunas compañías o incluso para la agencia nunca habían estado disponibles en español. Ahora están en el repositorio del EPIS. Las muestras completas están en la Litoteca Nacional, disponibles para consulta de cualquier ciudadano colombiano y para la industria. Tratamos de ser muy juiciosos desde DIMAR para seguir los requerimientos que estipula el banco de datos del servicio geológico, y toda la información está disponible. Tratamos de hacer un buen trabajo y dejarlo disponible. Esperamos este año nuevamente repetirlo. No sé si con esto reúno y respondo a tu pregunta, Daniel.
Muchísimas gracias, Luis. Perfecta la respuesta. Entonces sabemos que está dentro del EPIS, dentro del Banco de Información Petrolera, donde DIMAR ha estado pues al tanto de que la información esté correctamente almacenada. We got a last question by Claudia Osorio. Regarding the pilot program for abandoned wells in the Caribbean area, can you specify if hydrocarbon sieves will be carried out? I don't know if maybe Luis or Nelson know how to answer this question.
Okay, yes, as I mentioned before, thank you, Claudia, for asking and to be interested in this pilot program. These abandoned wells, for now, we have selected 5 of them. Our intention is only to cover 5 because it's a pilot program. We will use in a new year, and but we think that it's really important. But it's the decision of selecting the abandoned wells. It's by the hand on, it's between ANH experts and DIMAR experts. But we will try to select from DIMAR. We made a draft of selecting a few samples that are really close to the coast of the north part of the Guajira, because we think that if some of those abandoned wells will be sipping something, will really affect those areas. But we are having some technical workshops with ANH for selecting exactly the abandoned wells. I don't know if this solves your question.
I think it does. And we got a question for Adriana Sánchez. ¿Esta información tiene algún costo? Según yo tengo entendido, el costo en lo que es el Banco de Información Petrolera y el EPIS dentro del Servicio Geológico Colombiano, el costo es más una cuestión de lo que maneja la parte administrativa del EPIS, más que realmente la información cuando es información de cuenca frontera. Sin embargo, pues invito a Adriana a enviar el correo respectivo al Banco de Información Petrolera y si no estoy mal, ellos a veces dan pues toda la parte de los costos. Pregunta Rafael Antonio López Guzmán: ¿cuáles son los principales impactos ambientales positivos de la adquisición sísmica marina 2D y 3D? Pues no sé si Luis o Nelson la quieren responder, sin embargo, pues yo la podría responder como geofísico, pero pues quiero primero darle la prioridad a ustedes.
Sí, Daniel, para aclararle a Rafael Antonio que nosotros como DIMAR no hacemos sísmica 3D ni 2D. La información sísmica que levantamos es su bottom profile, el profilador de su fondo, pero no hacemos precisamente los trabajos que él señala ahí.
Listo, entonces yo puedo responder esa pregunta. Impactos ambientales positivos, que realmente un impacto ambiental positivo es una cuestión que no tiene sentido, es decir, un impacto ambiental es un impacto ambiental, véalo desde el punto de vista que se vea. Y pues yo según tengo, Rafael Antonio López es geofísico senior y puede entender que pues eventualmente nosotros sabemos que hay unos efectos ambientales cuando se usan pistolas de aire y cuando se usa la adquisición como tal, pero esto va relacionado a cualquier evento o cualquier actividad que haga el ser humano. Los permisos ambientales, naturalmente, los hace, si no estoy mal, la ANLA para estas cuestiones. Y de igual manera, no son solamente los permisos ambientales, sino los permisos también sociales. Por ejemplo, para la adquisición sísmica offshore de la parte de lo que es de la bahía de Santa Marta hacia el norte, hay cuestiones de línea negra que vale la pena siempre mirar. Entonces, esa es la cuestión pues con la sísmica marina 2D y 3D. No sé si hay alguna otra pregunta. I don't know if any of the attendants have any other question for our guests today that are regarding to the presentation. Okay, so there's nothing left just to thank. Cuando la NH entrega bloques, los entrega concesionados. Bueno, esta pregunta sí, creo que Adriana, te la quedaríamos debiendo directamente para preguntarla pues con la gente de promoción de áreas y con la gente de la parte jurídica de la NH, de tal manera que por correo se te pueda responder adecuadamente esta pregunta. Si hay otra pregunta con respecto a la presentación del día de hoy, estaría encantada de preguntarla a nuestros dos invitados. Si no, pues daríamos el cierre a la gran presentación del día de hoy. Bueno, voy a responder la pregunta de Elías, que dice, ¿por qué se investiga más en aguas ultraprofundas y no en zonas medias? Resulta que nosotros como ANH tenemos la obligación de investigar y de promover la investigación dentro de cuencas frontera. Naturalmente, nosotros sabemos que en lo que es la parte más somera, que es la parte de Guajira offshore y la parte de Sinú offshore, pues naturalmente ya tienen algunas compañías dentro de contratos E&P, dentro de contratos TEAS, y la investigación ahí ya ha sido, pues, es decir, ya está en proceso que de cierta forma la NH ya ha hecho su labor ahí, en los puntos, o las compañías ya están haciendo la labor ahí. Ahora nosotros tenemos que pasar hacia las partes fronteras, hacia la parte de contra Colombia, que es donde nosotros tenemos pues como ese objetivo como ANH. Entonces es más como una cuestión de objetivo desde nosotros como ANH promover cuencas frontera, más que el hecho de que no se investigue dentro de las aguas de zonas medias. Por ejemplo, si se tiene ahí el shape de piston core de compañías que ya adquirieron, con compañías como Fugro, compañías como Ecopetrol, compañías como Shell, se puede dar cuenta que la información es bastante amplia a comparación de lo que es la parte de cuenca frontera, que es la parte de más allá del cinturón deformado del Caribe, hacia la parte de cuenca Colombia. Hay una pregunta de Jairo Rodríguez, pero no la veo. Hay una pregunta de José Carvajal que dice, los taludes continentales son muy inestables, particularmente en el Caribe. ¿Qué medidas de prevención se toman con la intervención exploratoria y de explotación hidrocarburífera? Bueno, a pesar de que los taludes, efectivamente, como ustedes lo mencionan, son inestables, y de hecho eso hace que los depósitos, por ejemplo, de talud, como son las turbiditas, pues tengan eventos esporádicos. Sin embargo, en cuanto a exploración, no hay como tal no es que, no dicho, las acciones o las actividades exploratorias, que son principalmente la sísmica 2D y 3D, no afectan como tal este tipo de inestabilidades dentro de los taludes. Para la parte de explotación, naturalmente la parte de perforación de pozos, de las plataformas, tienen muy en cuenta todo este tipo de inestabilidades al momento de perforar. Son los correos de Nelson. El puerto especializado Petroleum. Okay. La pregunta de Jairo Rodríguez es, me gustaría saber en términos de planeación, ¿qué logística se tiene o está planeada para ser ejecutada en términos de tiempo para las etapas de perforación y desarrollo de la industria offshore en Colombia? Por ejemplo, el puerto especializado petrolero, perdón. Bueno, Jairo, la verdad, en esta cuestión del puerto especializado no tengo mucha información. Sin embargo, la responderíamos nosotros vía correo con la gente que está un poco más especializada en esta pregunta. Pregunta Manuel Garrido, yo creo que esta pregunta sí es para nuestros dos invitados del día de hoy. Dice, el proyecto piloto de exploración de pozos abandonados no considera el análisis de componente biológico. ¿Por qué?
Ok, Daniel, muchas gracias. Inicialmente, como lo he manifestado, es un programa piloto y de la mano con la agencia, la intención es revisar qué parámetros necesita la agencia. Podemos complementarlo, como decía, son imágenes que quedarán disponibles para la ciencia y podrán ser analizadas para evaluar diferentes parámetros. Pero en detalle, este programa piloto está enfocado a la necesidad de verificar lo que requiere la agencia. Pero no es camisa de fuerza, no quiere decir que no podamos analizar parámetros biológicos o otros parámetros, pero al tener las imágenes podremos extendernos tanto como sea posible o tanto como lo permite el conocimiento de cada uno de los expertos. Lo importante es que vamos a poder tener primero la capacidad y segundo, tener el acceso a estas imágenes nos va a abrir ese panorama de verificación, tanto parámetros biológicos como contaminantes u otros. Pero inicialmente solo vamos a cubrir 5 pozos y de la mano con la agencia aún estamos discutiendo acerca de qué parámetros vamos a poder verificar en esos pozos abandonados históricos, pero sobre todo entendiendo que a través de todos estos años nunca el Estado ha revisado qué está ocurriendo en la actualidad con esos pozos.
Listo, muchísimas gracias, Luis. Tenemos una pregunta de Diana San Clemente que dice, buenos días, vimos pozos para revisar en el Caribe. No me pareció que mencionaran en el Pacífico. ¿Hay alguno en mente? Bueno, Diana, en este momento la parte de la NH, pues, tenemos enfocada la parte de Cuenca Colombia y estamos enfocando en este momento unas actividades exploratorias hacia la parte del Chocó. Aún la parte del Pacífico offshore no, pero estoy seguro que con el enfoque que nosotros tenemos hacia miras del Pacífico y de cuencas frontera, dentro de poco habrá una revisión de los pozos del Pacífico y igualmente de adquisición de información. Viene una pregunta también para el suboficial Luis, que dice, ¿tienen mediciones de corrientes a nivel profundo, pensando en las actividades exploratorias para determinar hacia dónde se dirigen los lodos?
Por el momento, la información de corrientes profundas en la parte de oceanografía es muy importante, pero no nos hemos centrado, pues son aguas ultra profundas y adquirir esa información no es del todo tan fácil. Sin embargo, en los centros de investigaciones en las dos costas tenemos información de corrientes disponible, pero no son tan profundas, más un poco dentro de la columna de agua, pero más hacia la superficie porque es lo que hemos utilizado en este momento más para esto. Quería también complementar lo que acababas de decir asociado a la pregunta de la señora Diana Sánchez. También de la mano en el Pacífico, DIMAR ha venido apoyando con esa información base batimétrica, pero aún falta más información y también hemos venido contribuyendo de esta manera a eso.
Perfecto, Luis, muchas gracias.
Sí, para complementar un poco, Daniel, el cubrimiento del Caribe, como observaron en la presentación, ya está en un 100% en el área de interés de la ANH. En el Pacífico, el cubrimiento, tal vez olvidó hacer esa presentación, es de un 21% con respecto a todo el territorio colombiano. Entonces tenemos trabajo pendiente en el Pacífico en lo que se refiere a batimetría de alta resolución. Tenemos ya cubierto hasta los 3.000 metros aproximadamente desde Tumaco hasta Panamá, pero falta una gran extensión desde ese límite de la cuenca Chocó y la cuenca Tumaco hasta la isla Malpero. Es el cubrimiento pendiente que tendríamos si acaso la NH tiene un interés más allá del Caribe que has manifestado, Daniel.
Muchas gracias, Nelson. Efectivamente, la parte de batimetría ha sido muy importante en el Pacífico. Sin embargo, la parte de pozos, pues sí sigue en esa cuestión de pendiente de revisión. Hace Adriana Sánchez nuevamente una pregunta que dice que una vez los bloques se entreguen a las compañías, DIMAR también podría entregar ese mismo bloque para pesca una vez entregado por el gas que es exclusivo para este ítem. No sé si Nelson o Luis me pueden colaborar con esta pregunta. Hasta donde tengo entendido, no hay una limitación de actividades fuera de oil and gas al momento de hacer la entrega de un blog. Sin embargo, si alguno de los dos asistentes puede responder, o la quedamos pendiente para responderla por correo.
Sí, no tengo información al respecto, Daniel, y con gusto averiguaremos puntualmente y daremos respuesta por correo.
Listo, perfecto. Pregunta Carolina Huitrago Hernández. La grabación de la presentación la enviarán por correo a los asistentes. Les recordamos a los asistentes de todas las presentaciones de la NH que se han hecho desde principio de año en estos diferentes workshops, que los videos están cargados dentro de la página de la NH. Ahí ustedes tienen acceso tanto a la grabación que se ha hecho como a cada una de las presentaciones o los PDFs de alguna de las presentaciones. Hace José Carvajal una última pregunta que dice: ¿existen planes para obtener información con multicast en zonas de plataforma continental? La verdad, esta pregunta creo que se la quedaríamos debiendo, porque no estoy seguro si en este momento los planes 2021-2022 esté proyectado. Tal vez sí, y por desconocimiento en este momento le diga que no. Entonces eso sí se la quedaríamos debiendo. Jairo Rodríguez pide que si le podríamos compartir el link. Bueno, eso me toma un poquito de tiempo, sin embargo, creo que si me dan un segundo lo podría hacer.
Si me permites, Daniel, para
Claro que sí.
darle respuesta a la pregunta de la información multias, pues DIMAR, incluso de la mano con la agencia, en este momento podemos establecer que todo el Caribe colombiano está cubierto con información multias. Toda la plataforma continental, incluyendo el área insular y la zona territorial costera, tenemos información multias y ya tenemos cubierto todo el Caribe con información multias, que está disponible también a través de la agencia y algunos repositorios de información del Estado.
Perfecto, Luis. Listo, ya se les ha compartido a los asistentes del día de hoy el link donde pueden consultar los Zoomcast, donde pueden consultar los workshops. Yo creo que ya con esta cuestión agradezco nuevamente a Luis y a Nelson por la excelente presentación del día de hoy, a DIMAR por el gran compromiso que ha tenido con la NH en el trabajo, y damos pues por finiquitada la presentación del día de hoy. Nuevamente gracias y esperamos tenerlos en una nueva oportunidad. Recuerden la presentación dentro de 8 días. Muchas gracias.
Igualmente, muchas gracias para la agencia, para ti, Daniel, y nuevamente estamos prestos para apoyar y seguir en esta línea de investigación a través de estas metodologías. Muchas gracias.
A ustedes.
Muchas gracias, buen día para todos, gracias por la invitación.